Yeah, this one.
Alright, we're going live, and we're just editing all that real quick. And hold on, I'm just setting up the camera here so that everything is proper. Oh yeah, an 8000 series graphics card. Okay, cool.
I didn't realize it had a 6.
Hey, what's up? We already got people on the live stream.
Oh, shit.
We will be in the chairs in just a moment, guys. We're just setting up the camera properly real quick, as best we can. I didn't see her yet. Okay. So, we're going to be replying or basically responding to comments that have been made on my channel on any video. And to top it off, I've got two of my friends that are going to be joining me for some context and fun in all of this. So once again, I got to get my decrepit old tablet here set up so that I can read the comments.
I'll be right back down.
Okay. 6 people watching. Okay. Okey-doke. Alright, so I can now see what you guys are saying in the live stream. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be hopping over to my activities tab. And first off, I'm going to turn the volume down on this so I don't hear myself echo. And we're just going to go through all the different comments because there are so many comments that are just, the diversity of comments is insane. I got nice comments, and then I've got comments that are just totally off the wall, total left field comments. I'm just like, what? Oh, you got an energy drink. I'd go for an energy drink.
I got one. I got a pack.
You know what? I'm going to skip the NOS because NOS makes me jittery.
Okay.
NOS is one of those energy drinks that just makes me feel like I'm going to have a heart attack.
That's the point.
Well, no. An energy drink is not designed to give you a heart attack.
You sure? My friend had 3 and nearly had one. Should I have this on my mechanical side or my non-mechanical side?
That's a good, Yeah, I'll put it on your mechanical side.
Okay. Viewers are probably confused.
Oh, yeah, as far as the time of this live stream goes, dude, we're all nocturnal, so this is our afternoon.
More or less.
Yeah, I totally get that this is, like, not the right time for a live stream.
I mean, realistically, it depends on what your target audience is. Maybe we're going for India or something.
I mean, if I got people in India right now who are coming to watch this, that would actually be interesting. Now, as you can see, we've got one more chair that's not filled right now. We're waiting for a friend to come over and join us.
Oh, come down. He's just upstairs at the
Yeah,
moment.
he'll be here in just a minute. Once we get him in here, then we're going to go through a bunch of comments on my channel, and I'm going to give my personal feedback to each of these comments. Just because, why the heck not? You know, a lot of people do these videos where they planned it out and they have like comedic responses in response to these comments, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go at it live and see what happens. Who has the joint? Well, no one here.
Yeah, non-smoking joint. I suppose joint is the wrong word to use in that context.
So, I mean, this is just the boring part of the live stream at the moment while we're waiting for people to join up in the live stream. Anyone who's coming ashore, coming along, etc., will need a moment to see any notification that the live stream is actually happening, and then we're We're also still waiting on my friend who's taking just way too long to do whatever he's doing upstairs.
Probably pooping.
Probably.
Mike?
No. I've got a bitch of an itch on my left ass cheek. Scratch it.
Hello.
Well, for what it's worth, the green screen looks better than it did on previous live streams.
Oh yeah, much better.
Thanks to the clips that are now holding the green screen taut for the first time in years. So that's nice.
Definitely.
Oh.
Oh.
Canister filter some. All right, we're jumping right into fish questions. All right.
Check this out.
I think that is one massive ice cream sandwich, but that looks delicious.
Right, with Kit Kats as its bread.
I know, it's white chocolate Kit Kat. Oh, man, I'm getting hungry. But, yo, man, you best not be showing me pictures of delicious food right now. I am a fat man, and I love to eat. All right, so anywho, canister filter or sump. I think it generally depends on what setup you're going for. I think if you got a freshwater setup, a canister filter should be more than enough. Because the canister filter, when you set it up properly, will provide you the mechanical filtration, biological filtration, and if necessary, chemical filtration that you need. However, if you need a sump, that generally means you've got a pretty interesting kind of bioload going on. And there's probably more to it than to your tank than a freshwater setup. Because when you start dealing with corals and stuff, then you got to keep in check a bunch of different things. Like in some situations, you want some nitrate for salt water, whereas in freshwater, you just really want to avoid it as much as possible unless you're going a planted tank. So anywho, friend over here finally joining us for this little spiel. And congratulations, Mike. You waited so long that now we went from 5 people to 1 person watching.
Seriously? Damn.
Now it's just you. Gee, thanks.
I'm not gonna be
What you doing?
Me?
Anywho, okay, so now that we got everyone here, let's go to the meat of the subject. We're going to be talking about comments that have been received on my channel. Just comments in order from chronological order, and I'll explain what video it's from. And we'll go from there. So first comment was 2 hours ago. It's about a review I did on those Tetra glass heaters. Remember the ones we got at Walmart? Those really...
the little cheapies?
Yeah, they were like, what were they, like 40 watt?
Yeah.
Like 40 watt glass heaters. And
that was a waste of money.
it really was. And the sad thing is I really should take that review off because when I made the review, we had just started getting into aquatics a few years ago. And at the time, they were working okay. But then after like a month or so, I made the review. Well, shortly after that month, we went through like 5 or 6 of these things in the next coming few months because they were just so awful. They would, I never had one problem, which a lot of people get the problem where the heater, it's regulated to stop at about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. When it breaks, there's a lot of people where it just has no more regulation and heats up the tank and it just boils their fish. For us, the situation became, it didn't heat up at all and our fish would freeze. So we decided that we're not going to deal with glass heaters anymore. So what we did is we upgraded everything to Aquarium Pro heaters, which have solid aluminum cores, I believe, to them. And they have sensors for when there's a little water. Now, the reason why those glass heaters break in the first place is often it's because of how people do the water change in the fish tank. They don't realize the glass heaters are not supposed to be exposed to the air. They need to be submerged all the time. And what happens is they heat up really, really fast. And air is a good insulator. It's not a good conductor of heat. So the entire unit itself heats up really, really bad, and then the electronics in them just go kerplunk. And that's no good. And that's probably the main reason why they fail so often. But just on top of that, they're really unreliable, and I really should correct that review. So that's the first question from Lindia Barker on the Tetra here that you can get at Walmart. So okay, so that's one thing that really should be addressed. So I don't know, Mike. Do you have any input on those heaters? Remember what did we used to do with them? How many did we have? We had at least 2 of them in the 30-gallon terrarium that we were using as an aquarium at the time.
We had about 2 in there. We had another one in another tank and another one in another tank at the end. I think we had 4 or 5.
Did we really? Which tanks do we have? We had the 30 breeder, and then we had the 20 tall. Was it a 20 long or a 20 tall for the goldfish for Jeffrey?
Oh, it was a 20.
20 long, I think it was. I could be wrong. And also, that was another terrarium, not supposed to hold water, but we put water in it anyway, and it held up. Actually, you know what? I don't think we put anything in that thing except water. Poor Jeffrey, the goldfish. He went through hell, but that was when we were beginner.
Colors.
Yeah, actually, we found out because we didn't have a light bar for that tank. We found that the goldfish actually change color depending on how much light they're exposed to, which is really weird. We didn't know that. Jeffrey, the goldfish, we got him as a 20-cent feeder fish, and we just decided to keep him for the heck of it. Now, those feeder fish are known as comet goldfish. And they start out as little tiny things, but they can get like 2-3 feet long. And when he started to get about, what was he, like 8 inches long at one point?
When we got rid of him, he was about that.
About that? Show the camera. How about?
He was about that.
About that. He was a big goldfish. He was getting there because a lot of people think that the size of the tank will stunt their growth, and that's not true all the time. Depending on the fish, they will just straight up outgrow the tank. And goldfish are one of the species that just straight up do that.
I honestly think if we had kept him in there, he might actually have broken the tank.
Possibly. But Jeffrey the goldfish, we donated him, and someone adopted him into their pond. So, but that was a long time ago. That was when we were beginner aquarists, and we didn't know much about what we were doing.
That was a year and a half ago.
That was over 2 years ago. Because that was with Rich's terrarium that we sold on top of everything. That's you told me we got to keep it, and then we sold it when we needed to, and then whoopsie, he wants it back. I'm like, what do you mean you want it back? You gave it to us, and he's like, oh boy.
Hey, he literally said, "It is yours to keep and do what you want." Those were his words.
So, we wanted to sell it to get other equipment, so that's what we did. Poor Rich. You know, he wanted like $80 for that terrarium. I'm like, dude, it's not even aquarium rated. For $20, I can get a brand new tank. I'm not giving you 80. And there's like, no. So, moving on to the next.
I gave him $10.
You gave him $10. I mean, that's about as much as it's worth, really. So, moving on to the next comment comes from Killer.
Quick note: if you don't see me commenting too much on the aquarium questions, not really my field. So that's why I'll just be sitting here.
Yeah, we're going to be going through a weird spectrum of comments here. A lot of them have nothing to do with aquariums.
Yeah, I'm just
it's just the first few.
You really weren't part of the aquarium stuff at first, anyways.
Well, yeah, this guy was the one who gave us our first aquarium. It was actually a terrarium. Where did you get that anyway? What was it?
I think I garbage picked it.
Yeah, he garbage picked a terrarium, and that's how we got our first aquarium.
And then we tried to filter it with a sump pump.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's before we knew anything about fish filtration. Like I said, we were total newbies. This is our first ever thing. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We tried to finagle a system using a whole house filter to try and filter everything instead of doing it the right way and getting a fish tank filter using biomedia and bacteria. Oh, looking back, it was the dumbest thing. We were just trying to get rid of algae. Oh, that
And
was...
all of this,
not just algae. It was the catfish fine.
yeah.
Yep, okay, yeah.
This
There
all
was,
started because we wanted to try to keep our food as long as we could.
Oh, that's
yeah,
fresh
because
as
we
possible.
eat what we catch, and we go fishing. I get the bait, Mike gets the, catches the fish, and then he also subsequently kills it with his farts.
I did not. It was out of. We had when we were transported. It was in a net. It wasn't even in a bucket.
No, it wasn't a bucket. We had one bucket. What happened was we were stuck literally, this is not even a joke. Going forward, the barge to a bridge was up. Going behind us to get to another route, a train was moving in the way. We were stuck with a giant fish in a bucket. By the time we got there, the bass. It was the bass that died. The catfish lived. And I actually made a video of the catfish, and I was just petting the catfish. I was like, hey, here's a good catfish.
I was at work when you did that too.
Yeah, so we definitely learned a lot from trial and error with all of this stuff right here.
Trial and error. More like shotgunning what we had into the option. Anyway.
So, moving on. Okay, so our next comment is about the video where I talk about how I play with my tamed crayfish that I had at the time, Mrs. Cray Cray. This comes from Killer Shark commenting that I will be getting a dwarf crayfish soon, so I can't wait to play around with it. And here's the thing. I have dwarf crayfish, actually, and I just recently started breeding dwarf crayfish, and I had a mama cray, and she actually had 9 babies.
9?
Yeah, we thought it was 8. I counted 9. Trust me, there's 9 in there. So it's 9 baby crayfish. And one thing to remember about dwarf crayfish, if you want to play with them out of water, which, by the way, you can take a crayfish out of water for a short time. They do naturally come out of the water on their own in the wild as well. As long as their gills are wet, they should be fine. So what I used to do is I used to take my crayfish out of the tank and I would play with her like a hamster. I would let her walk across my hands and she would never bite or nip. And she got really used to human interaction, and because of that, she was never really all that aggressive. She got along with all her tank mates, even though she was a rusty crayfish, which is known to be a very vicious, not vicious, but more territorial crayfish. It's invasive around here, so... but just for quick reference, I did get permission from the Department of Natural Resources to keep Mrs. Cray Cray. That's important to note because it is illegal to possess them. But I did get permission to keep them for either a pet or for human consumption. Friends are showing me weird stuff on their phones. But anyway, what I'm getting at is there's a big difference between the strength of a rusty crayfish versus a dwarf crayfish. And the reason I say that it's important is because when the crayfish is out of water, it has to deal with gravity in a whole different way. It can't just float. If you've ever gone in a swimming pool, you'll know that you feel less heavy in a swimming pool. You're buoyant to an extent. And when you come out of it, you feel heavier after you get used to the water. It's the same thing with the crayfish. A dwarf crayfish doesn't have the strength to move around very well outside of water like a full-size crayfish, like an electric blue or a rusty or a white specter. So I wouldn't recommend playing with a dwarf crayfish outside of the tank. I don't think they have the physical strength to handle that.
So, I sent you a message before leaving, just saying I'm on my way. And 6 minutes ago, my phone decided to tell me, oh, hey, I failed to send this message.
Well, I actually did get your message.
Which makes it even funnier to me.
That is weird. So, anywho, that's that. Okay, next comment just says, in response to me, I. Okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Just I.
Okay. Actually, this next one actually is a good point here. So, in the video, I talked about Amazon's private courier service known as AMZL_US. Now, what Amazon is trying to do is cut out the middleman, so that way they don't have to pay UPS, USPS, FedEx to deliver the packages. They want to have their own private courier service do that for them. Which, if you ever have anything shipped and the shipper is AMZL_US, that's the United States version of Amazon's private courier service. Which they basically hire people out like on a contract, and they rent vehicles for the day and they do the deliveries. But there's been a lot of problems with it, and there's been people who, okay, they have their packages delivered to some other house for one, or they'll say it's delivered and it was never actually delivered, and then it'll actually arrive several days later, even if you have Prime. And it's just like, well, what the heck? Why would they say it's delivered now? So it's just all these different problems with AMZ_US. And one person was asking, this person, Diane,
Most likely butchered.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I probably can't pronounce that right. Is asking how to opt out of AMZL_US. Sellers should allow the buyers to choose their own shipping option. AMZL_US totally sucks. And actually, here's the thing. If you call Amazon and you tell them you do not want to have packages shipped by AMZL or by Amazon's private courier service anymore, you can actually opt out of it. They will not give you options anymore in certain cases for same-day delivery or next-day delivery. Because of that, though, the only reason they're able to do same-day and next-day is because they're going through their own courier service and you live near an Amazon warehouse. If you opt out, you're going to be removing those options from yourself, but you can force them to use the mainstream shippers, United States Postal Service, FedEx, UPS, that whole thing. I think they've even used DHL at some points for certain things, although DHL is more of an intermediary system where they partner with the United States Postal Service on a lot of stuff. But yes, you can opt out. So, let's see.
Quick note on that. I haven't really looked into this, so the details might be a little fuzzy. But at my work, they have the TV playing on news station occasionally during breaks or whatever. And apparently Amazon is looking to build a new warehouse or whatever.
Headquarters.
Is it headquarters?
Yeah.
That Chicago's bidding to get.
Yeah, there's three major cities that are bidding. I think it's they already have one in Washington. I think it was Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I just find it strange that we are bidding for a company. We're literally trying to pay for a company to come in.
Well, no, it actually makes perfect sense and here's why. Because if we have a major company like Amazon, let's face it, Amazon's taking over everything, right? If they're in the state, that means they pay the state taxes. And the way the state sees it, if they provide everything to make the company want to be there, then the state will in return recoup their losses for their initial investment and then continue from there on if the headquarters maintains to be in that location. So the idea is it's an investment. It's basically investing in a company. But because Amazon's so freaking huge, it's generally considered to be a pretty safe deal to consider something like that. So
I'll be broke.
Well, dude, everywhere is broke, dude. This country's been in.
Illinois is one of the most corrupt states in the union.
Corrupt has little to nothing to do with how actual broke we are.
The fact of the matter, okay, look, the entire United States owes a lot of different countries a lot of money, but that's a little bit beside the point. The point is, the city of Chicago sees it as an investment, and so do two other major cities, which I believe is New York and Los Angeles. It could be wrong. So whichever state they actually go with, that's actually a pretty huge deal. That'd be interesting to see.
I just feel weird whenever they start throwing job figures around because job figures get really weird really fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. But
They're saying it's going to bring over 100,000 jobs to the area.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be pretty darn good. But you know, it's going to be in downtown. Like,
it's going to be.
It can't be in downtown because it's going to be a huge build.
Do they actually want to build a brand new building, or do they just want to buy out something like the Willis Tower?
I believe they want to build their own building.
Because I mean, it all depends on where they're going for. I mean, look, in Illinois, like you could go in rural Illinois, which there's a lot of Illinois that is rural. Yeah. People look at Illinois and they think of Chicago, but they totally forget Chicago makes up like the actual square footage of the state is maybe like 30 to 40% at the most, and everything below it, like when you start to go below down into Illinois, it's just like all land.
Honestly, I think you're pushing it with 30 to 40.
Yeah, 30% is pretty generous.
Yeah.
The point is, there's a lot of land to build on Illinois, just not in Chicago. Yeah, cornfields. All right, the next
corn and more.
Yeah, friggin' like Illinois. What's in Illinois? Corn.
Soybeans.
Do we make soybeans?
Yes.
Can I get a shout out? Of course, Stephanie, you can get a shout out. Why wouldn't we give you a shout out, Steph? So, one of our friends.
Hello.
When you get in over here, huh?
Yeah. All right. So, anyway, moving on to the next chronological. It's 8 hours ago. G. Will commented, "Bless this video, helped me immensely. A video I made on how to explain what a furry is." So
that's some kinky shit. That's what that is.
Hey, it doesn't have to do anything with anything kinky.
I know.
You and Jeff would know.
Well, I've been to furry conventions. They're actually really relaxed and they're a lot of fun actually. Dude, the amount of derpness I've had at furry conventions, just derping around, doing just the most random stuff is just. Dude, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of different panels and parts to it, but it's just like, I'm gonna go over here and derp about. Ooh, we found this. Let's go do that. It's just an entire day of derpness.
There's a face hugger for you.
Oh, jeez. I mean, that's a pretty good picture. Okay, so there's really not much to say about that video other than you're totally welcome for that video, man. I'm glad. There's actually a lot of people who use that video, and it's helped them explain things a little easier because the whole furry thing is actually really complicated to explain properly. But of course, you're laughing, Mike. But anywho, all right. So next comment. Oh, this is a video that I made about how to breed cherry shrimp, which a lot of people seem to like this video, and I did make one mistake in that video, saying that cherry shrimp have a larval stage. I totally misspoke on that one. They don't have a larval stage. They're actually hatched and born as miniature shrimp. But other than that, everything else was pretty spot on. And Green Machine commented, "Thanks, man. You're one of the best I've ever heard doing this. Good job." So you're totally welcome, Green Machine. Happy to help. The next is just a notification for Cyanide and Happiness. Love that channel. And the next question, Tierzoo. Oh man, have you ever watched Tierzoo's videos? He treats life like a video game. It's like he treats all the animals as different classes in a video game and stuff.
Okay. Never heard
the whole animal kingdom. You'll see him on trending once in a while. And I made a comment and I got a favorite on that. Moving on. Okay, here's an interesting one. Maybe Sam, you could probably chime in on this one.
I'm gonna go with it.
All right, so my friend is gonna go, and another friend just got here.
Oh, there's not a whole lot to say.
So Sam, this one you could probably chime in on. Tesla solar roofs.
Okay.
Do you know anything about solar power?
No, not too much.
No?
A little bit, but
I don't know. I kind of pegged you as a guy who might know about it.
I mean, I've looked into it, but I know what I like of it, and I don't really care about much else. So.
Okay. Well, I did some research on Tesla solar roofs because they're advertised saying, "Oh, our roofs are going to be cheaper to manufacture and install than a traditional roof." And I thought, well, that's pretty good because the roof on this building is about like $8,000 to do the roof with just standard shingles. And I thought, how in the world are they going to make it less expensive? So they have a calculator on Tesla's website, and I did the calculations for my house, and to recoup my investments would take probably, I think, 28 years, because the cost of the installation of just having 80%, or is it 70 or 80% of the panels being solar shingles and the rest being just dummies, would cost over $100,000, over $100,000. And I thought to myself, how the heck are they marketing it like this? And the way they're saying it is, oh well, the government gives you tax credits and this and that. And then if you think about it over the long-term run, with the electricity you save, then your investment pays for itself after 30 years. I'm like, 30 years is a long time. Some people might not live long enough to reap the benefits of that. And on top of that, I do some research. Solar shingles, there's been a number of businesses out there that have dealt with solar shingles long before Tesla ever have, and 90% of them have gone out of business. Because here's the deal, regular solar panels are more efficient. They're actually safer too.
But for roofing, it has to be able to withstand some.
Well, they're built to be on roofs.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and Tesla is marketing this thing as like some innovation to make people want solar panels, but not at that price. When it's less expensive, more efficient.
You know what Tesla is?
What? Vaporware?
I was gonna say the Apple of solar panels.
I mean, dude, it's a complicated situation where Tesla, they make bold. Elon Musk makes a lot of bold claims, and I mean, look,
he's the new Steve Jobs.
Yeah, well, I mean, he makes a lot of bold claims, and some of the things he's done has come to fruition, and that's cool. But some of the stuff he says and wants to do just sounds like vaporware. He's handing it off to a lot of third-party companies and having engineering competitions to figure out how to make his envisioned dreams come true for him, instead of doing it himself, which is just like, okay, anyone can say anything and hire someone. It doesn't make you an inventor.
What was with the smoke just now? There's like smoke or something coming off your socks.
Oh, no, that's just dust, man.
Okay.
Yeah, down here it's real dusty, so my socks are all dusty and whatnot. Okay. Well, anywho, so this guy, Tonic, commented saying, the efficiency of a solar roof is likely 30% less than that of solar panels, too. They look great, and that's the biggest hurdle I've encountered, trying to get people to go solar. He was talking about people are more likely to do what their neighbors do for certain reasons, and if you have a roof that looks like a normal roof, well, yeah. Well, if you have a normal roof, people don't notice it, so they don't copy it. But if you have solar panels on your roof, then suddenly it's like, oh man, my neighbor's got solar panels. Man, I think I want to do that too. Kind of effect. It has an effect on other people. Some people might do it, but
I won't disagree with that. But by the same token, something you could do if you, I don't know the feasibility or even if there's any extra legalities on this, so look into it yourselves. But if you don't have the money to actually afford the solar panels yourself, but want to instrument change, then outside of just lobbying and trying to push for it between your local area, throw up effectively fake solar panels. So it looks like you have the solar panels, and then people will want to copy the fact that you have solar panels, even though you don't.
I mean, that's an interesting mind game right there. That's definitely like social engineering for the greater good, I guess you might say. But so another thing that Tonic brings up is the federal tax credit is 30% of the system cost. So if it's $100,000, that means the government's paying $30,000 of it.
There's probably some upper limit of it too.
Yeah. Well, it says it doesn't matter if you have a tax refund, if you have a tax or tax refunded, or if you send in tax money, you just have to have that much taxable income. You can make the claim that 30% over the course of some odd years, but what he's getting at is the tax credit isn't going to be there for very much longer.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do something like this, you'd have to get it done.
It might have already been over.
It might be. I haven't looked into it yet. So, anywho.
Quick note before we move on.
All right.
You mentioned something about the efficiency of the solar panels.
Yeah, the solar panels, like actual solar panels, which are easier to maintain, are more efficient. They produce more electricity per square foot, and they cost less. You know, why wouldn't you go with a regular solar panel? Other than aesthetics, there's no good reason.
Yeah. Also, even beyond just that, configuration can make a lot of difference, and I guess it would still count under configuration. One of the things they actually have now is clear solar panels. They're not quite as efficient as the old school.
You don't want to talk louder, just so.
That's fair. I don't know. I tend to talk soft, so apologies. Something they have now is they have clear solar panels. They effectively look like windows, but they generate electrical power from solar energy. I don't know how well they stack with anything else or anything of that nature, but it provides far more room for such things than most other options, because now, before you could plaster your walls or your roof or your yard with them, but now you can plaster your windows on top of everything. And I wouldn't doubt that at least a couple layers you could just stack on top, so each solar panel is like 3-in-1 type deal. But
I mean, maybe if you have like triple pane glass windows for insulation, you could probably use. It's an interesting concept. I haven't done any research into it, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, well, I've done minimal research into solar power. Most of the easily made, relatively cheap solar power isn't actually directly into electricity. It's purposely using it in some other means, such as water heating is a big one I've seen. Because at that point, you're not converting the energy the same way, you're simply transferring it. And that is a lot more efficient, so you can do things differently with it.
Some things to think about. Alright, so moving on to the next comment was one of my more recent videos where I talked about red and green bush algae inside of my neon yellow shrimp tank. So,
got a regular Christmas going on in there.
Yeah, no kidding. Bush algae is a pain in the butt because once it's there, it's really hard to get rid of. And I use hard water in my tanks for my well, and that happens to have a lot of the nutrients that this type of algae likes to flourish off of. Now here's the thing, the algae itself is actually relatively harmless. There's not really any negative side effects to it unless it gets like extreme out of control and starts clogging up the ability for the filter to move water. Then it becomes a problem. But it actually provides a surface for biofilm, and even though it's aesthetically displeasing, it doesn't seem to hurt anything. And that's one thing I want to I would try to bring up is a fish tank can look messy, but function perfectly. There are fish tanks that are aesthetically, they're not show tank quality, but as far as the water and the inhabitants of the tank are concerned, are spot on perfect. So it's something to think about, because when people see a tank that's not pristine and perfect, and like what you see in multi-$1,000 setups that are just like tended to every moment of every day to make it look like a living picture, because that's what they are. They're ornamental fishes and ornaments. People think that something's wrong, but in reality, algae grows whether you like it or not. The type of algae you get depends on a number of different factors and reasons, but at the end of the day, a tank that doesn't look like $1 million picture doesn't mean it's actually in any peril. And it doesn't mean the inhabitants are unhappy either. Because like I said, these these Neocaridina davidi shrimp love to pick at biofilm, which grows on the surface area of things. And having these little fuzzy algae all over the place is basically just more surface area for the biofilm to grow. So as long as it doesn't get too out of control, it's actually in some ways beneficial, but I can understand why people would think that, ooh, it looks dirty, it looks messy. I don't want to see a messy tank. You know, they think algae or something that doesn't look quite right means something's bad or out of balance, when really that's not always the case. Now, it does mean that there is a nutrient imbalance in that you should have other plants to suck up those nutrients so that way it hinders the growth of the algae. But beyond that, it's not a problem. And what I'm getting at is AC Aquatics replied to, or made a comment on it and said, I completely agree. If it's working, don't mess with it. I have a similar tank that my wife hates to look at, but everything in that 55 community tank is breeding consistently, and he goes on to explain the different types of fish that are breeding in his tank. And once again, it just goes to show that you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a tank by its aesthetics.
Honestly, along that same note, and as a prime example, I think, for the entire idea of it doesn't have to look pretty to function amazing, look at a natural lake or ocean or something. Realistically, 9 times out of 10, they don't look pretty. There's all sorts of trash all over the place. You may not be able to see all of it, but it's there, and we all know it. But it does a pretty darn good job of sustaining life.
Yeah, and actually, here's the funny thing. I've actually got a fish tank full of wild fish that I've caught in the wild and brought them into my tanks. And they do really well. Here's the thing. I've measured the standard things that you would look for in your aquarium. The nitrite, the nitrate, the ammonia, pH, yada yada. Now, in my tanks, they're all at pristine levels.
For the moment, I'm stealing his chair to add balance to the scene.
That's fine. They're at pristine levels. But if I go to the lake, and I have tested the lake's water, the ammonia, the nitrite, and the nitrate are actually pretty elevated, and you start to wonder. Now, this is based on parts per million, so it's like this in a lot of parts of the lake. These fish are living in some pretty horrific water, and even though the lake looks nice from a distance, you can't really see what's underneath and what's going on down there. But the water in my tank is perfectly suitable for them, and the conditions for the nitrogen cycle are far more appropriate to handle fish. So, keeping that in mind, just goes to show, it also depends on the kind of fish. So moving on, these are just replies to comments I made on another person's fish videos, the king of DIY, when his arowana, his Asian arowana, passed away. I made a comment because there's a lot of people on there saying, "Oh, it's just a fish," and I'm like, there's a lot of fish that have a lot of personality. If you look at my video of Titan the pufferfish, you'll see just how incredible a fish can be when it comes to personality. A lot of people have equated Titan to like a puppy because he can recognize his owners. He can show visual excitement and happiness and all that stuff. And he's just a lovable goofball, or he was. And he's a great example of how people can really bond over something like a fish. And I was thinking to myself, his arowana passed away. He was really sad about that, and I can understand that. There are people out there with koi fish in their pond that are over 200 years old. That's a multi-generational commitment to a single fish. And if you don't think there's a bond between fish like that, because some people, they start out and they bottle feed their koi. Like they actually have a special bottle with little special pellets, and they'll get in the water with the fish, and they can hold the fish, and the fish will be eating from the bottle. And if you don't believe me, just Google bottle feeding koi. And here on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of videos of people doing that.
I was about to say, don't bother Googling it. They're already on YouTube.
Yeah, you're on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, you see people bottle feeding their fish. And
do it after this stream, though.
Yeah,
don't leave
after
us,
the stream.
please.
Don't leave the stream. But the point is, people can have a real serious connection with their fish, especially bigger fish. Because the bigger the fish, the better the opportunity is to enter their world and actually physically interact with them. There's plenty of koi out there where you can pet them and play with them, and you could teach them tricks, and there's so much more to a fish than just watching it swim around. They can and do have little personalities, and that's something to keep in mind. And I was commenting on that, and there's this one guy, Adventures in Carminology or whatever, and he was just being a troll when people are replying to his troll comments and whatnot. So as far as the king of DIY goes, I totally get why he's sad that his arowana passed away. That it was his favorite fish, and cost aside, arowana are really expensive, but cost aside, the personal attachment he had to it. Look, he looked at that pet, and that pet was part of his family. And he treated it like that, and he really enjoyed it. And to see his buddy pass away from an injury and not being able to do anything about it, even though he tried a few different things, it's a painful experience. No one wants to lose a pet. If a pet is really a pet to you, it's part of your family. Whether it slithers, hops, swims, or anything otherwise. That's really what it comes down to. And some people are just being really disrespectful to that. But moving on. Okay, so this is a good one. So me and a friend went to a casino, and I devised a plan on how to make the casino lose money. Now, it was arguably the dumbest plan ever, but it does technically work. So I found that the casinos, when you put in money, you don't get money back out. It gives you a printed card on something called a Tito card. Tito stands for ticket in, ticket out. And it uses a special thermal printing process, so it doesn't use any ink or anything. But each Tito card costs 1 penny. And if you just put the Tito card in, and then you press to cash out, you don't do anything, it prints a brand new Tito card, making them lose 1 penny at a time. And I actually sat there, and for 100 times with $1, I printed in, printed out, made the casino lose $1. That's how you make it so the house doesn't win. And then while I was sitting there, I would get free soda from the soda fountain. Heck, I would even call for service so that the woman who walks around handing out the drinks would be like, yeah, can I get another brisk iced tea, please? And she's like, sure. And I would just do that, and I was being an idiot, but I'm like, hey, it's true. But anywho, so this one guy, Royal Moment YouTube, or Royal Moments YT, commented, keep in mind that it's 1 cent per Tito card, and every spin you lose 1 cent then. That's right, at the beginning of the video, I was playing 1 cent each time then cashing out, so I was essentially forcing the casino to break even. But then I found out you didn't even have to play to make them print the Tito cards. So haha, I win in the end. So yeah. Moving on to the next one. Okay, this comment is about a day ago. It's about mystery snail eggs and how to make them hatch. There's actually not a lot you got to do to make that happen, but someone commented saying, JJ Herena commented, good morning, I was curious, I have 5 mystery snails and apparently 1 laid eggs, and I'm not sure since when, but I noticed on Saturday and Sunday it started to look like they needed to be moistened. So she got the spray bottle and sprayed them, and now it's starting to look kind of white and crusty. So one of the key things to remember with the mystery snail eggs is that they need to be in a humid environment so that they stay moist, but they cannot be submerged because mystery snails breathe oxygen directly from the air, even though they live in the water. So when the eggs are laid, they need to remain moist so that they're in the water inside of their egg sac, but above the water line so that they don't drown. And the best way to do this is to make sure you have a lid on top of your aquarium, because the mama snail is going to lay the eggs on the top corners of the tank, and the natural humidity that builds up in the tank from evaporation of the water will be enough to keep them moist. If you don't have that, then yes, you're going to have to spray the eggs every 4 hours or so until they hatch, which is a lot of work. There's a few other methods that people do to keep them moist. Like some people will take a Tupperware container and get a bunch of damp towels, and they'll lay the eggs on the damp towels and then close off the container, and then let the container float on top of the water to maintain the correct temperature. That's another way you can do it. I haven't personally done it, but I have seen it been done like that. And my friend has just come back and he's flipping me off because he's a derp. And, oh hey, next comment. Speaking of Titan the pufferfish, this comment's on the video that I made about feeding Titan the pufferfish. So the comments.
How do you add in another tray? You want to get in?
We got another friend that came over. So I was feeding Titan a crayfish because I catch crayfish in the wild, and Titan was a big puffer and he loved crayfish. So the comment is from tamed, says, "So cute, the pufferfish. ... He's like a pet dog," and he really is. He's an adorable he was an adorable pufferfish, and I say that is because a few months ago Titan passed away at the ripe old age of 15. But he was loved by everyone. Everyone just adored Titan. So we were enjoying all that for quite some time, and then when I found out he passed away, I got really sad. But so the next video that got a comment was about when I was breeding ghost shrimp. And I was just breeding ghost shrimp because I had nothing better to do. I felt like it, so I was like, why not? My ghost shrimp were a few years old at that point. Actually, my ghost shrimp had gotten so big that people thought it was a mono shrimp. So, take care of your shrimp. They last a long time. And I was breeding them, and I put my tea puffer, little poof, my dwarf pufferfish, in with the shrimp, and I noticed that she didn't attack the shrimp, even though people said she would. She just kept to the snails. So that was interesting. And Paws commented, from what I noticed, if a fish grows up with shrimp, they may be less likely to be aggressive towards them. And I think that has something to do with it. My pufferfish is a female, and females tend to be less aggressive. And on top of that, my puffer was tank born and raised, which makes a huge difference considering that a lot of pea puffers are still wild caught, and wild caught pea puffers are much more territorial and aggressive than tank raised. And right now we're trying to figure out a configuration because our other friend wants to join on in the live stream. And one of the things is my green screen is not all that big.
Take a picture.
So let's get this figured out. We'll do a live stream for a little more. See, how long have we been going here?
A little over an hour.
Have we really been going over an hour? Holy crap. Goodness.
Yeah. A little over an hour.
So everyone, say hi to our new friend that is joining us. Oh, and by the way, my friend wearing the T-Mobile shirt is not a employee of T-Mobile or a representative.
Got free on T-Mobile Tuesdays.
Yeah, and we're not endorsed. We're not endorsed by T-Mobile, but in any way, he just happened to get a free T-shirt, so that's why he's wearing it.
Yay, free clothes.
Yeah, actually, they had a free hat.
It's a trucker hat. This today. Oh,
Yeah.
You.
Oh, dude, we totally missed.
oh yeah.
Yeah, we totally missed going to Dunkin' Donuts to get free coffee.
No.
Bummer. Alright, well, anywho, moving on. So the next comment involves,
Your mom.
I was just about to
Damn.
say that.
Dude, the hive
You're
mind.
copying what I said earlier.
The hive mind right
Sam.
here is insane.
I have my ring.
Wow.
So,
TV reference.
the next video involves my my
You're
dwarf.
copying what I said earlier. Remember? Who am I talking to? Your mom.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you said, I'm like, who am I talking to? And you said, your mom. I'm like,
Your
whoa,
mom.
Mom, you sound really different. So that was that's definitely a thing of something. So anywho, and the next comment comes from Pause.
What are we pausing for?
Oh well,
No, the name's pause or whatever.
oh, they're wrong. Pause, Sam.
Is it,
So
What
it's
should we
how is it spelled?
PAWS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
see,
alright,
like a
pause.
paw. You know, like a paw, like a
Dog paw.
Like, yeah, like a dog paw.
So are we
So-
going back to the furry thing? Or?
No, we're not going back to that for right now. Hold on. There was a video I was explaining about how I was going to get a pea puffer, and Pause and commented, best get a bigger tank for a dwarf puffer. They like to explore. A small tank will bore them. Well, it's good you brought that up because Poof, the puffer fish, was originally in a 10-gallon tank, not the 2.5 gallon like I originally planned, and is now actually in the 40
on
breeder.
YouTube.
So Poof the pufferfish is in a 40 breeder, so she's got a ton of space to explore and be around. Okay, so here's another good one. So I made a video explaining why I freaking hate Malaysian trumpet snails. They don't die. I've tried everything. And I explained why they're a nuisance and why I think they're pests. So Fossil Hunter commented saying,
Evidence has gum.
"Oh, whoa,
Sorry.
copyright violations all over the place." No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so anywho, Fossil Hunter commented saying, if I were you, I would get rid of the substrate filter, wait a week with an empty tank and dry, then use the tank again how you would want to. Dude, I kid you not, I've done this before. I've straight up boiled the sand for like an hour to try and kill anything that might be in the sand. I cleaned the crap out of the tank. I cleaned the crap out of the filter. Everything should have been sterilized. But then suddenly, 3 weeks later, baby Malaysian trumpet snails. They don't die. They don't care about water conditions either. They will do anything and anything.
We had, when we were going from the 30 breeder to the 40 breeder, we literally had the water out of that tank for a day. And yet one of the guppies survived.
That's true. When I was breeding guppy fry, we tried to remove all the guppy fry in the tank. We thought we got all of them. There was 1 or 2 baby guppy fry that was surviving in the puddles of the water, and luckily we caught them and we got them in the new tank and they recuperated and they were great. But Malaysian trumpet snails are just these little bastards that simply will not die. And don't tell me get an assassin snail to take care of it. I got 50 assassin snails. Put them in the tank. The Malaysian trumpet snails outbred the assassin snails eating them. There's no way to get rid of them, man. I hate that people recommend them. Seriously, get a rabbit snail, get a lava snail, get a black devil spike. Don't get a Malaysian trumpet snail.
Bleach won't even get rid of them.
For real. Like, straight up, like ammonia, too. I ammonia bombed the crap out of one tank trying to kill them. Didn't do jack. Dude, and bladder snails are just as bad. I have bladder snails living in the dang toilet. For real. There's a toilet in the fish room. It's not used for actual toiletry uses. I'm using it as a drain. And there are bladder snails living in the bowl of the toilet. Come on, man. What do I got to do to get rid of pest snails? For real. Anywho, next comments. Oh, this is a good one. This is where I talk about why bacteria in a bottle for starting a fish tank biological filtration system doesn't work for a lot of people. I was talking about how Amazon, they will actually accept returns of CChem products, and then someone will like order CChem matrix, which is biological media. And they will take the media and then just put random rocks they found outside in it, return it, and say, oh yeah, I didn't use it. And Amazon will then take that and then put it back in stock and sell it again. And the next person that gets it is like, well, what the heck is this? It was labeled as new, and I got this thing full of random rocks, not the media that I required. And this happens a lot. If you go on Amazon's webpage where they sell CChem Matrix, you will see picture and evidence and all that of this going on. Amazon takes people's word on good faith and then resells the product. And what I think is going on is people are buying CChem Stability or Tetra Safe Start Plus or API Quick Start. They're using the bacteria and within the 30 days, and then they fill that bottle up with water, they put the cap back on, and they send it back and say, oh yeah, it turns out I didn't need it, and maybe they'll get a restocking fee or something. But then they'll get most of their money back. And then Amazon, look, they're not a fish specialist store. They're just the returns department. They open up the cap. How are they going to know the difference between a liquid containing bacteria and just water? They're not going to know the difference. So they put it back on the shelves just like they do the Matrix, and they send it out. And that's the problem. People then get water instead of bacteria. And that's why a lot of people say that bacteria in a bottle is snake oil. It's fake. It doesn't work. It's not real. And I think this is why. I think this is a very common problem. And I think it's being overlooked. And what happens is a gentleman or a woman or whatever named The One commented saying, Amazon doesn't resell things like that. They write it off. Come on, get real. I am getting real. I've seen the proof.
Let's get real here.
I've seen the proof on Amazon's webpage. Now people are asking me, hey, give me the proof. And I'm like, bro, the
Thumbs up if you know what that is.
The proof is literally an Amazon search away. You can look at it, and I promise you, with CChem products in particular, you're going to find it, and you're going to see proof and pictures and all that of this being a consistent problem. So another, going on, and the next comment was actually about the same video. I talked about how, well, another reason why it might not work is if people order the bacteria in a bottle during the winter or in the midsummer, they have to be shipped on a truck to a warehouse or a store or something like that. So it's either freezing cold in the back of that truck or it's blistering hot. And that can be enough to kill the bacteria before it ever even gets to you. So one guy, Mary Mendaley, commented, I guess it isn't worth it for the manufacturer to use insulated shippers for the product. And here's the thing, insulated shipping costs money. That's a lot of overhead, and I know that personally because I ship my own shrimps and fishes and snails across the country. Insulation's not cheap, and when you're dealing with this kind of quantity, I think they would rather just write off the losses from it than pay, for all the extra shipping that's not even a true guarantee, depending on how they ship it. Plus, you also got to remember, shipping in insulated boxes takes up a ton more room inside of a truck than just shipping it in a normal box. So there's real estate to take into consideration with that. And when you consider that on top of everything else, the overhead starts to get to be too much, and it's just cheaper to write off the losses on it than it is to use insulated boxes. But here's the thing, like CChem Stability, CChem didn't get big by making crappy products. There's a reason why the #1 product in fish water conditioners is CChem Prime. CChem makes good products. They just can't account for everything, and there's problems with that. So, anywho, since we've been talking for,
Over an hour?
Over an hour now, I think at this point we can end it here. There's a ton more comments that we could go through, but man, I get so many comments that it would take forever to go through, like even 10, 15 more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream here. Although in order to do that, I'm going to have to access this.
Comments for days.
I think because of your chair, I cannot.
I got it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone who did watch. So, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. We'll do another live stream sometime soon. All right, guys.
I will.
Toodles.
Say bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Don't drop your phone.
Bye.